That's new flows. Back from the dead, I slay hoes. Big thrill, tryna stay low. Screaming, bugging with a bankroll. 20 plus for the face tone, no audible.
Find out what was going on. It was one of those stories that I just couldn't get out of my head. They called him Sugar Ray. I like the name. People used to say he was gonna be better than Magic. They said he was into everything that was going on then. All I knew is that he had this look on it. The most exciting players I've ever seen. But that's not the point. Not the whole point.
Cairo making waves,
Look at this little bitch thinking she slick. Run her hands down my pants, acting like she wanna grip on the stick. When she really try to touch on these pants, hoping she get in it fits. Think again, I got news for you. She a trick, she know it. She a trick, she yeah. Look at this little bitch thinking she slick. Run her hands down my pants, acting like she wanna grip on the stick. When she really try to touch on these pants, hoping she get in it fits. Think again, I got news for you. She a trick, she know it. She a trick, she yeah. You know the vibe, the pieces hit. I swipe it up, exceed the limit. I change the mood, the mirror, my jeans, go bottom my shoes. She love how I move, she calling me Papa Shampoo. And no, I'm not feeling myself, yeah. These type of bitches be okay for your ego. I'm not a game, you cannot play me. I need them coins, I need them shillings. Run it up and make me a killing. I need them blue faces. Don't give a fuck about your feelings. If it ain't money, then please do not mention. So many bitches, they thought I was pippin'. They say the money, then they started twitching. Try to run down and I get the clipping. Niggas be haters, they can't mind their business. Niggas be broke, they can't pay attention. I see your bitch and she get the lippin', yeah. Look at this little bitch thinking she slick. Run her hands down my pants, acting like she wanna grip on the stick. When she really try to touch on these pants, hoping she get in it fits. Think again, I got news for you. She a trick, she know it. She a trick, she yeah. Look at this little bitch thinking she slick. Run her hands down my pants, acting like she wanna grip on the stick. When she really try to touch on these pants, hoping she get in it fits. Think again, I got news for you. She a trick, she know it. She a trick, she yeah.
Like you lost another one.
Told little mama I'ma get to this bag, so I ran all with shit, yeah. These goofy niggas mad when they see you on a mission, yeah. Can't let that shit faze me, that's why I disappear, that's why I disappear. Can't let that shit faze me, that's why I disappear, that's why I disappear. Told little mama I'ma get to this bag, so I ran all with shit, yeah. These goofy niggas mad when they see you on a mission, yeah. Can't let that shit faze me, that's why I disappear, that's why I disappear. The last I say, oh, the last they talk about you, yeah. My presence is golden, mama said I'm chosen, yeah. I'ma stay cold, I've been outside. I call up my amigos, they down to ride. We spin the block, don't chill outside. Play tough and play the front lines. Get a body bag.
Hello everybody, how y'all doing? This is your boy Ariel. If anybody knows me from Twitter, it's Ariel. Y'all can follow me on that. This is my old school retro space, episode 4. And today is a Michael Ray Richardson tribute. As you know, guys know, he was a part of the Knicks, Nets, Golden State Warriors. He played 8 years in the association. And he was known for being the number 4 pick in the NBA draft out of 1978. Played college ball in Montana. Pick number 4, 8 years in the league. Everybody knows him because his name was Sugar. And why was he Sugar? Because that's exactly what he was. He played the game the right way. Out of college, he was a monster from Montana. They actually won the Big Sky conference with him. And unfortunately, in the NCAA tournament, he went up against a powerhouse in UCLA, and they went down. And they lost the following year. They lost to, I believe it was, what team? It was was it West Virginia? I think it was West Virginia. But he lost. He was unsuccessful in winning a title with Montana, but he played his heart out and left it out on the floor. One thing that stuck out with me with Michael Ray Richardson was his handle, and the way he facilitated an offense. And he was so quick. And then if you dribbled the ball and he full court pressed you, he was getting a steal. He was gonna rip it because he always had sticky fingers. He was a kleptomaniac, pretty much. He had the game on lock when it came to defense. That's what he was really known. He was known for a defender, but he could also get you a bucket too. He wasn't the greatest 3-point shooter. He had a respectable clip. I think he was shooting, I believe, 29%, which is not that good. But that wasn't his main staple. His main staple was getting to the basket, setting up his teammates, getting out on the break, and he did a lot of intangibles that gave the team what they needed. And a lot of things that I liked about him is that he actually broke the single game record in Montana. Actually, he scored 40 points in a single season game, and that is still up there in the Big Sky Conference as far as Montana, his alma mater. And he held the single season scoring record, 24.2 points per game. Third career in assists overall. Second in career scoring, 1,827 points. That is ridiculous for somebody at 19 years old to do all that. And he was ninth in rebounding. So that's another fun fact about him. He also led the league in steals. He was a 4-time NBA All-Star in his short term in the NBA. He also head coached the Canadian League basketball team in the CBA. Lost to UCLA 67-74 in the conference finals, and averaged 18.2, 6.3 rebounds, 3.8 assists as a sophomore in 1975. His career averages are 17.1, 6.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 49% shooting, which is great. As a senior, he averaged 24.2, 6.9 rebounds, 1977-1978. Montana record was 20-8, and they actually won the Big Sky Conference champion. So that's pretty phenomenal on his part. Sugar was that guy, in the league, and he was actually, when he was drafted by the Knicks, they called him the next Clyde Frazier, and I thought that was pretty amazing because Clyde Frazier, even though I'd never had the fortunate opportunity to actually seeing him play live and direct, just seeing the clips and the videos and the Nick montages that they do on MSG, I learned a lot about him and a lot of other players that didn't play for the Knicks. But Clyde Frazier was a guy that I hold dear to heart because he's the one that announces all these beloved Knicks games for us, all us Knicks fans. And I admire the way he played the game, the way he gave his heart. He's just all around, Southern gentleman. And for Sugar, which is Michael Ray, for him to be having that type of praise coming into the league, that's something, because most people don't compare young guys coming into the league as guys of that Clyde Frazier, type play style. And Clyde Frazier, everybody knows, is a legend. So that goes without saying. He was selected 2 picks ahead of Larry Bird. That's a fun fact because I didn't even know that. His second year, he became the third player to ever lead the league in assists. 10.1 assists, 3.2 in steals, and he sits along with Don Busse and Slick Watts as the only players to do that in a single season. That's pretty dope. His Knick records in both categories, he also had 18 triple-doubles, which is second most in franchise history. Pretty sick feat because you guys know all the legends of the Knicks, and there's many of them, and he's actually second in that category. That's pretty amazing. 1980 and 81, Richardson made his second All-Star game. He's a 2-time All-Star. His Knicks record, 50-32, made the playoffs for the first time. Also, he averaged 11.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 3.5 steals in the series versus the Bucks. They upset in the first round. They won the first round, lost in the second round to the Milwaukee Bucks. They went up against the Pirates. That Bucks team in that era was pretty good. And he had 3.5 steals, 5.5 rebounds, 11.5 points, and 9.4 assists. He lost to the Reggie Theus-led Bulls in an upset, that's pretty bad. Because I looked at that Bulls team, and that Bulls team wasn't that good. But they have Reggie Theus, and Reggie Theus is a legend himself and a former coach, most of it. Because I knew him as coming up. He was a coach in the NBA. I didn't even know he was a former player until I started really looking at these old school players clips. And in 1981, he scored a season high in total points as a Knick with 33 points in a win versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's his career high in points as a Knick, 33 points. Pretty dope. Golden State Warriors, he was traded the previous year. Traded to the Golden State Warriors. He only appeared in 33 games, which is pretty crazy. He was traded along with the first round choice in exchange for Bernard King. And we all know how Bernard King turned out for the Knicks. So we can't complain about that because Bernard King actually was a big part of our big runs. And he only played in that short term with the 30 games with the Warriors. The following season, he was traded, the same season actually, traded to the Nets for Sleepy Floyd, who was another NBA legend. And I'm gonna do something for him because he was a really good point guard in the league throughout the association. And Mickey Johnson. The following years were traded to the New Jersey Nets in the 1984 upset playoffs to the 76ers. And that 76ers team was pretty good. I seen the clips of that, and I was like, yo, that was amazing what he did coming in his first year with the Nets and actually upsetting a team in the playoffs. That's not an easy feat to do. So we got to give him his flowers for that. In the deciding game, he scored 24 points and 6 steals against the Sixers in victory, which is pretty dope. Next series, he had 24 points in a Game 4 victory over the Bucks, but they were eliminated by Milwaukee because Milwaukee was not a team to play with that year at all. In 1985, the following, he won Comeback Player of the Year, averaging 20.7 points per game, leading the league in steals in 82 games. After only playing 48 games prior season due to substance abuse, which was well documented with him, he struggled with substance abuse later in his career, and it ended up biting him eventually. He was the last player. This is a really fun fact that I looked up. He is the last player to actually wear Converse in the NBA. I didn't know that. That's pretty dope. His total games played in association was 556 games. 14.8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, 7.0 assists, 2.8 steals in 18 career playoff games. In the playoff games, he averaged 15.7 points per game, 7.2 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists, and 2.8 steals. After the playoffs that year, the following season, he was banned. He was given a lifetime NBA ban by David Stern. As we all know, David Stern was very big on drug abuse in the league, and if players were getting caught even smoking weed in the time, they were getting suspended for it. They took the drug thing very serious, and he was a part of that. Fortunately, he was one of the main staples for the lifetime ban. On February 25th, 1986, he was banned for life by David Stern for 3 drug violations. In 1988, 4 years later, he was reinstated, but stood in Europe and never played in the NBA again after being reinstated. Sugar cited the NBA was unfair with the cause because Chris Mullins, who was another NBA legend who I previously discussed with the TMC air. If y'all missed that, y'all can go on Twitter. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I'll drop the links. I have for the TMC for the Warriors. Chris Mullins was featured on that. So Chris Mullins was actually, I didn't know this. Chris Mullins was an alcoholic supposedly, and the league knew about it but swept it under the rugs. So basically, Michael Ray, well, his stance was, why are they stapling me? And I made mistakes, whether it's drug, alcohol, but why they didn't do anything to Chris Mullins? And Mullins, clearly, he stated himself, Mullins, that he had a drinking problem coming into the league. And he was, even when he was in the league, he was a heavy drinker. And he's basically saying that where's the double standard? So Michael Ray's stance was, I'm black, he's white. That's the difference. Because the league came down on me, but they didn't do nothing to him at all. So it gives you something to think about. Just food for thought. Like, inquiring minds want to know. So I want to definitely look into that. So after his career he played 14 years in Europe. He won 2 titles over there for a really good European league, and in the FIBA I think they finished 3rd. After his playing career overseas, he was hired by his former team, which he played a couple years for, the Albany Patrons out of the CBA. After playing in Europe for 14 years, he became a head coach, and he was pretty good at it. Was a head coach for 3 years with Albany, and after that, his stint with Albany, which is his former team he played in the CBA with when he did it after his overseas tour. He was a CBA coach for the renewed Oklahoma Cavalry. Fired because he stood up for his team, and this is pretty dope. He got fired from as a coach from that team because he stood up for his players because their paychecks were bouncing. So that's a man of the people. Like, he wanted the people to get paid. He wanted his guys to get paid, and he stood up for them, and that's pretty dope. And after his playing career was over and his coaching career was over, he now runs the camp in Oklahoma, which is his residence now, with Otis Birdsong, another legend who I'll be touching on. He was another great player. And I didn't notice they were former teammates in Montana. So 2 legends on the same team. That's sick. And he's actually featured on a movie, which I didn't know, and I'm going to look into it, on TNT. What Happened to Michael Ray, question-wise. And guess who it was narrated by? Renowned actor Chris Rock. I didn't know that, and that's amazing. The things that you learn when you research. So he was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1985 by Montana University. There as a Big Sky, and then he was also inducted as a Big Sky Conference top 50 athletes of all time. That's sick. His NBA career finished out 39.6 minutes per game overall, 38% field goal percentage, which is good. 3-point shooting is so 27%. Free throws 69%. Rebounds per game 5.5. Assists 7.2. Steals 2.8. Blocks per game 0.2. And points per game 15.7. So overall, not a bad stat line for him overall wise. But I want to know what people think in the comment section. How would Michael Ray Richardson, aka Sugar's career, would have panned out had he not got addicted to drugs? Had David Stern been a little bit more lenient with him or fair with him? I feel like he does have a kind of a valid point, because a lot of people kind of look at drug addiction and alcohol addiction in 2 different ways, which are both really toxic addictions. Because I've seen the ways it could really ruin somebody's life or their career in a lot of ways, both ways. So I don't think you can't go one and say, oh well, if you're a drug addict, that's worse than being an alcoholic. Because actually, it's kind of the same when you look at it. Because alcohol is a slow killer, just like cigarettes. The more you do it, the more you abuse alcohol, the more you put yourself at risk for heart attack, all kinds of health problems. And I feel like that's just a society thing where like people look at it a different way. But I think Michael Ray, his stance was, when he said with David Stern, was I'm black and he's white. So it kind of correlates a little bit. I don't want to get into it like as a racial discussion, but it's something to look into. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think David Stern had it out with him because of the color of his skin and overpassed Chris Mullins on his alcohol addiction? I really want to know what you guys think about that. But overall, I want to know what people thought if Michael Ray would have stood the right path and would have stood a long career in the NBA. Do you think he would have been great? Do you think he would have made the Hall of Fame, NBA Hall of Fame? Do you guys think he would have won a title at some point, wherever team he would have ended up with? Because Sugar was something special to watch. I use him a lot. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I learned about him because I played 2K. And I played with all-time great teams of every team. So I tend to like get into that because they were before. I was born in 1984. So I learned about these guys through video games and through clips and researching them. So from what I saw from Sugar, hands. Dude was a kleptomaniac. Like, if we have Michael Ray on a current NBA team, he'd be phenomenal. Because the league wants that. Other than his lack of prowess from 3, the dude was a great playmaker, kleptomaniac, steals. He would rip you at any moment. Rip it from steal. Dude was a klepto. He had the hands. He had his defensive stance was sick. You could tell in college like that. Like, you could tell he practiced that. You could tell because defense, yes, it can be. You can be a coach and teach people, but the players have to really want to be good defenders. You could tell he really wanted to be a good defender. He really wanted to make an impact on the game. And I feel like that if he would have stood his whole career and he wouldn't have laid off the drugs, I think he could have been something special, man. And that's something that it sucks, man, because like I like watching him more and more. I'm like, damn. People used to tell me about Michael Ray, and I was like, I'm too young. I don't know nothing about that era. I'm worried about my 90s, mid-90s, 2000 era when I started watching ball in 93. But other than that, like watching Michael Ray, it made me appreciate him more. Actually, I'm thinking about even getting a Michael Ray Knick jersey if I find one anywhere, because he's just, to me, like Clyde, man. They both legends. Even though he played, across town with the Nets for a little bit, to me, he was still a Knick. He got drafted by us. So listen, my value is like if I like you as a player and you were drafted by us, once a Knick, always a Knick, and I'm still going to always have some type of love for you. So that's the same way I feel for Michael Ray, man. I love his game. I use the all-time Knicks in 2K because I'm a big gamer. So I love it because I put him on my second unit, and when I need steals and I need defensive stops, guess who I put in? Sugar. Because Sugar was a klepto, and he liked to steal. And when I need a big steal at the end of the game, or get back in the game, or go on a run, I put Michael Ray. Or sometimes I pair him with Walt Clyde Frazier. And the world will never know, man, because I wish he would have finished his career, and I wish he would have not, you know what I'm saying? But we can't change the past, but all we could do is talk about how great he was, you know, and he deserves his flowers. Now, Michael Ray Richardson, man, was a great player. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. You guys subscribe. If you guys don't know me already, follow me on YouTube. I'm going to be doing more videos every week. Every Sunday, every Monday, I'm going to drop a video. I'm going to record, and I'm going to drop it on Monday. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. You already know what it is. Ariel owes them, man. NBA Gold School Retro, episode 4. I'll see you guys in the next one. One love.